Welcome back, family, to the Doctor Next Door. I'm your host, Dr. George Corday. I have a really special guest today, Dr. Angela Holliday-Bell. She is a sleep specialist, the founder of The Solution is Sleep, and after overcoming sleep challenges herself, she dedicates her whole life to helping others get great sleep. Welcome to the show, Dr. Holliday-Bell.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so a lot of times people become the thing they most needed at a time in their life. What kind of drew you to helping others get better sleep?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I became what I needed. So during my medical training, some during medical school, definitely during residency, I started to suffer from insomnia. And I always say I've done a lot of hard things in life, but the most difficult thing I've ever done was struggle through insomnia. And so I actually
Sure.
started on my quest to fix my own sleep, just like I just couldn't continue to survive that way.
Yeah.
And started studying sleep, volunteering in the sleep clinic, and in that process really fell in love with sleep. I was a pediatric resident though, and I still wanted to be a pediatrician, but
Sure.
now kind of like grew this additional love for sleep. And
Yeah.
as I was learning more, putting things into practice, helping patients and family members and friends, I kind of grew that as something alongside what I was doing.
Yeah.
And now I'm a mom. My son is 14 months old, and that was a
Okay.
whole nother level of sleep issues and deprivation. And so my passion for helping moms, specifically in the postpartum period, was really born from that also that struggle, but also overcoming it and actually dealing with sleep better than people warned me that I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, out of my struggle bore my passion to help other people.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can tell that resonates with me. Being a resident, not getting no sleep and losing my mind. Okay. I had
Yeah,
an earlier
exactly.
podcast episode because I was like, I wasn't mentally as sharp. I was flirting
Mhm.
with depression. I had a
Yeah,
lot of issues, and it took me a while to see that like sleep is really important for your overall health. It's not just I got 3 hours, I got 4 hours, I'm good. Like you actually need the sleep to function at a high level. So that's
100%.
well said. You covered a lot about being a mom and
Uh-huh,
having a child. Can you
uh-huh.
speak on that a little bit? Specifically, your ability to speak to the moms out there and look through it through their lens, how they see the world and how they got so much to do, right? Baby keeps them up at night. Then during the day, they got stuff going on. Can you speak to why it's important to get sleep?
Yeah, I think like being a mom, the mental load is real, right? It's not even just a physical sleep deprivation. It's like mentally you're juggling so much all the time. But I actually want to take a step back to before I was a mom, because obviously I was a sleep specialist. Sleep was so important. I'm
Sure.
getting 9 hours of sleep. I'm telling everybody. And everybody kind of had this thing like, oh, yeah, yeah, but you don't have kids yet. And you're not going to
Right.
sleep again when
Right.
you have a child.
Just
And I was
wait.
like, wait a minute. Are they right? And they were like, no, no, no. I'm not going to accept that for my life.
Yeah.
So I had my son. And obviously in the first few months, it's survival mode. But I was intentional even from the very beginning about protecting whatever sleep we could get and like
Yeah.
putting things into practice. And then got my son sleeping right before he turned 4 months old, 12 hours a night. And since then, I've been sleeping 9 hours a night, and I consistently do. And he's 14 months old. So I say that to say it is possible, right? Before I did that, I wasn't even sure it was possible because everyone told me it wouldn't be.
Okay.
But I think we have to believe that as moms, it's possible and that we are deserving of it. I think
Mhm.
so many moms feel like I can't put my rest above. So like my needs are at the bottom of the totem pole. I got to make sure my spouse is taken care of, my kid is taken care of, etc. And those things are important, but you're going to do those things so much better when you're well rested and you matter too. So I want moms to feel empowered to say, I still matter. I can still get my rest. It's okay to prioritize myself. It's
Yeah.
possible to prioritize myself. We just need to make sure that we're being very intentional about it and putting practices into place from the very beginning to help your child sleep better, to help you sleep better. And it also will completely change the way you experience motherhood as a whole. Being able to
Wow.
be present and in the moment and not on edge all the time and just trying to survive. Those are two completely different motherhood experiences.
I really like that last point because I mean sometimes you're just going through the motions, but you're not enjoying like actual motherhood or whatever you're trying to accomplish, right? Because you're sleep deprived.
Exactly.
So I think
Exactly.
that's good. And then also just the philosophy that you can't pour from an empty cup. You're trying to help other people, but you ain't put your own seatbelt on yet. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I think that's well said. Is there something I was reading an article earlier in the week and it said more women report trouble with sleep than
Uh-huh.
men, like just in
Mhm.
general. Is
Yep.
there something about women in general that creates this hormones? Is there something that they experience differently that makes this an issue?
Yeah, I think it's multifactorial. So that is true that women are 40% more likely to suffer from insomnia than men. So some of it goes back to hormones, right? Unfortunately, throughout a woman's life, dating back to puberty, those hormonal changes and fluctuations have a direct impact on sleep. So you have puberty, you have pregnancy, you have postpartum, you have menopause, perimenopause. These are significant hormonal shifts within during a woman's lifetime that directly impact sleep. Progesterone in particular is a very important hormone for sleep. And so when that's thrown out of whack, that absolutely can impact it. In addition, the woman tends to take on many other responsibilities that a man may dabble in, but maybe not take on as fully as a
You
woman.
hearing that, man? She call you out. She call you out, gentlemen. I
No,
hear you.
respectfully. You may
Okay,
try as hard as you can, but again, that mental load, what we're holding on to and juggling
sure.
and taking care of in terms of child rearing and work and home duties all impacts our ability to get to maintain a deep sleep. And then again, some of this martyrhood of like, I can't sleep because I have so much, other things to do and I
Yeah,
don't deserve it and putting yourself. So all of
yeah,
those things put together lead to this, I call it a gender sleep gap that we see.
very good. There's like some weird. My wife was telling me about some mom guilt or scrolling or
Yep.
something like something is that what it's called? Like like late at night when everybody's asleep,
Uh,
moms be on their
mhm.
phone scrolling, because that's the only time they have, for
Exactly.
themselves.
It's
So
revenge bedtime procrastination
there
where
it
you're
is.
like,
There it
I
is.
have given the entire day to everybody else. And this time, even though I'm supposed to be sleeping, this is the only time that no one needs me, that I get to myself, that I get to just relax. And so instead of sleeping, which would be the ideal thing to do, and even though you know you're gonna regret it, you're like,
Right.
this is my only me time. So I'm gonna steal from sleep so I can have this time of peace.
Wow, look at that. Steal from your sleep to have this time of peace now, even though it's gonna perpetuate the cycle because tomorrow you're gonna wake up tired.
Exactly.
Very good. Can you touched on all of our fears when you hear that you don't sleep through the night those first several months of having a newborn baby. Can you give those listeners out there that are new moms or parents that are having trouble with having kids and getting good sleep? What are some quick tips that you recommend to help them deal with that?
Yeah, yeah. So it's so hard. Like I said, the first few months, it's survival mode, but there are ways to make it better, particularly if you have a partner. So what I recommend and what my husband and I did very early on was we came up with an agreement, a night agreement for who was going to handle what during the night so that it wasn't all on me. I think as a mom, and I've been guilty of this myself, we just assume the responsibility for everything. So the baby's up, I'm going to be feeding them. I'm going to be doing all, these things. And so it was helpful to have it already planned out beforehand. So we weren't guessing in the middle of exhaustion. For us, we did split nights. So my husband took the first 4 hours, I took the second 4 hours, so that we both got at least 4 hours chunk of sleep. And at the very beginning, that was glorious. That felt like a full night's sleep.
Right.
And even during the time when I was initially breastfeeding, so I was breastfeeding at first and I switched to pumping breast milk. When I would wake to obviously feed my son, I couldn't sleep the whole 4 hours. My husband would do everything else surrounding feeding, though. He would get him out of the bassinet, bring him to me, change his diaper, swaddle him back up, put him back in. I literally just fed and was able to fall back asleep. Another thing I would say is a lot of what happens during those first few months, because you're in survival mode, is are stimulating activities that you engage in when you have to wake up in the middle of the night. So you're waking up to feed your child and you're like, let me just grab my phone and get on Instagram, or let me just turn on Netflix real quick. And all of that is stimulating. So I recommend keeping night feedings dull, dim, and distraction free. Turn on a
Mhm.
red light that's less stimulating to your circadian rhythm. We're not doing all the clues and oh my gosh and all of that. It's dull, it's distraction free. So
Okay.
your baby falls back asleep quickly, but it's also easier for you to fall back asleep too.
Very good. Oh, first of all, shout out to the husbands out there because I was one of those husbands that I was in training actually, and my wife,
Wow.
I tried to get her 4 hours, but I'd wake up like 3 hours before my shift to try to help her get some
Mhm.
consecutive hours because it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's madness. If you're out there, you're having a kid, it's madness. Those
It's
first
madness.
three
It's the
months or so,
Wild
it's just
West.
madness. It's wild. It's wild. So shout out to all the husbands that are taking a shift. Okay.
Yes.
And then you hit on great points for people with newborns, dimming the lights, how the lights affect your circadian rhythm, excuse me. Keeping it dull, right? You're not trying to activate anything. You're not trying to wake yourself up. You're trying to keep it in a place where it's easier for you to fall back asleep, excuse me. So you talked about newborns, but what about people like Dr. Corday who have toddlers and 6 and 7 year olds in the house? Like, what are you supposed to do?
Listen, listen, once we pass the newborn stage, that's where it gets easier, right?
Okay, okay.
Because for instance, my son, and I always say this, like every baby is different, right? Obviously, I'm a sleep specialist, so I knew what to do. My son was waking up every 2 hours before we sleep trained him. Every 2 hours.
Mm,
In the middle. He had gotten some longer stretches and then he hit that 4 month sleep progression a little into 3 months. In every 2 hours. And that's when I was like, okay, let's learn some independent
let's
sleep
fit
skills here.
right.
And so the good thing is there are many ways, there are many different methods that you can choose. I think one of the best things you can do for your child is to equip them with independent, healthy sleep skills from a young age because that tends to stick with them as they get older.
Yeah,
And a lot of people who have like insomnia or sleep troubles now as adults dates back to when they were younger. And so just
interesting.
like healthy eating habits, exercise, and all those things, teaching it young helps those habits to stick with them. Same thing goes for sleep.
Wow.
So once we had the opportunity, he was growing well, feeding well. He was developmentally at an age that he could sleep through the night. We taught him how to do that. It took us 4 days for him to sleep 10 hours. 7 days he was sleeping 12 hours. And literally he's 14 months old and he sleeps 12 hours a night. And then I had to go ahead and also do what I needed to do to get my sleep. So that's the other thing too. It doesn't always just kick back in just because your baby's sleeping, but that really is the first step, right? You need your
Sure.
sleep opportunity and then you have to do what you have to do to get your sleep back too. So if you have older kids, they can learn independent sleep skills. And
Yeah.
once you equip them with that, then it's so much easier for you to get your sleep back.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. You hit a lot of good points. I love the fact that you're tying, those basic fundamental skills to something you can teach somebody at a young age.
Yeah,
And that not only is good for them, so you can get sleep as a parent, but as they get older, it can prevent things like insomnia in the future. And that's the first time I've
absolutely.
heard it articulated like this. So I think that's a great point. And then, I think the issue arises when I have a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Uh-huh.
When the 4-year-old doesn't want to go to sleep and she comes
Yeah.
and revisits the parents' room
Yeah.
2, 3 times and she just wants to be loved on, right? And you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
listen, baby, daddy got to get to sleep. So you got to figure. I actually got to go to work in the morning. You just get to play.
Hmm.
I got to do stuff. So I think what would you be your recommendation for that? Because those are older kids' problems. Like, they can
Yeah.
actually open the door, hop
Yeah.
out of bed, and they're gonna come pay you a visit. Okay, so
So true. So honestly, one is setting those boundaries very early on.
sure.
Very, very early on. Mom and dad's bed is off limits. Like the kids
Hmm.
should know that there's no sleep with mom and dad. Like ideally early on. But even if you're past that point, there are some things you can do, particularly for like the toddler, early childhood age. They really want that positive reinforcement. And so it's not about saying, don't do this. It's about this is what you get if you do this. And then getting them in on it. So the first thing I recommend is redecorating their room with their input. So you get to pick a new comforter. We get to get this bed. You get to sleep with Spider-Man or Cinderella, whatever you like. Like get their input into it so that they're excited about it. And then there are a couple different ways you can go from there. You can do the bedtime passes. So if you're someone who has a child who's always like, I'm thirsty, I want another story, I gotta use the
Yep,
bathroom, like
yep.
they're calling
I've been
out
there. I've been
to
there.
do
Yep.
that. You give them bedtime passes, 2 passes, and you say,
Okay.
you can use these 2 passes for anything you want. Anything you want, no questions asked, you get a pass. But after those 2 passes are gone, there's no more calling out. There's
I like
nothing
it.
else that you can get.
I like it.
They want control, right? They're little tyrants. They're like, they want to have control, and you're giving them this control by saying, hey,
Yeah.
this is those 2 passes, you can have whatever you want, okay?
Right.
The
Right.
other thing is they get very judicious about it because, like, if I call out, I'm gonna lose one of my passes, and
Hmm.
then I only got one more left. And so let me hold on to this until I really need it, and then they end up falling asleep. But
Yeah.
also, what you're teaching them is it's okay, it's safe to be in your bed. So it's like 2 in 1. They get that control,
Yeah.
but also they get used to like, oh, it's actually not that bad being in. I got my Cinderella or my Spider-Man. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool in here. And over time, they don't feel the need to come to your room. The
I
ones
agree
that are
completely.
getting up and walking to your room, it starts with a walk back. So we got to set that hard boundary. No,
Yeah.
you can't. I'm sorry, you can't sleep in mom and dad's room. And walk back to the room every single time. And this
Yeah.
is where, again, positive reinforcement comes in. But you say, okay, if you stay in your bed, you get a gold sticker in the morning or you get a Spider-Man sticker or whatever.
Right.
And after
Right.
5 stickers, we get to go to the store and you get your favorite toy, ice cream,
Very
whatever.
nice. Yeah.
Again, it's that positive reinforcement. You
Yeah.
are rewarding them for doing what you want them to do as opposed to trying to punish them for not doing what you want them to do. And they learn that, oh, it's okay. It's safe to be in my room. It's pretty cool. I get cool things. Those are the things that work.
Great answer. I mean, listen, as someone who has 2 kids, look, that's a whole lecture you just gave me right there. so, so I'm taking notes. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I could do something with a room. Get her get a little more comfortable with a room. Certainly positive reinforcement. I think not this isn't the topic for discussion today, but we are products, a lot of us from negative reinforcement backgrounds. So we don't really know about that. Hey, five stickers, you get some. It's more if you don't go to your room, there's going to be consequences.
Exactly.
So, so, so I think readjusting the mindset on that to instill that, those good synapses, like, hey, if I stay in my bed, I'm in a safe place. I love this area. I actually get rewards or treats for doing the desired behavior. So I think that's a great point. Um, so you touched on this a little earlier, and I don't want to gloss over this.
Yeah.
I was reading an article in preparation for this interview, and it said this woman was saying how her body has been three different people during her lifetime. She said,
Mm.
you go through menarche, you go through puberty, and then you have a child, pregnancy, and then obviously perimenopause and menopause is a whole different experience. Can you touch on that and how that impacts women and how their sleep quality may change during different times during their life?
Yeah, absolutely. It really goes back to those hormonal shifts. Even like you said, dating back to menarche, a lot of women have insomnia around their menstrual cycle because of the fluctuations of progesterone in particular, in addition to cramping and things like that. But just the hormonal changes can shift that. Even during pregnancy, intrapartum, having a growing belly, the changes in hormones, restless leg syndrome, and obstructive sleep apnea become more prevalent during pregnancy. And a lot of people don't talk about that. Postpartum, huge shifts in hormones. Plus, you have a new baby to take care of. And fundamentally, your brain rewires after you have a baby. So there are studies that show that women don't actually get back to their a lot of women to their regular sleep pattern or their typical brain structure until like 5 years after having a
Mhm.
baby. So it's not just like during that 3 months and people are like, oh, you're
Sure.
good. Like, no, it lasts for a long time.
Yeah.
And then perimenopause, menopause is a completely different thing. You're seeing shifts in both progesterone and estrogen. And estrogen, it also has effects on sleep, but is important for temperature stability. And we know that your temperature, body temperature has to decrease for you to fall asleep and remain low until the early morning hours. Your cortisol is released. And when that system is thrown off, you have things like night sweats that wake you up. And then rates of obstructive sleep apnea significantly decrease after menopause. And it's something that is underdiagnosed and undertreated. So no matter how much you try, no matter all the sleep hygiene things you do, if you have untreated sleep apnea, that's only going to go so far.
Mm.
So literally a woman's body and brain restructures and rewires multiple times throughout her life. And one of the big systems that it affects is her ability to sleep.
That these are things that I know as a physician, but I don't think it's common knowledge. And even I didn't know to that extent. I mean, I was reading an article like, yeah, that is true that
Yeah.
these different times in your life could change your estrogen and impacts your sleep. And I think, so many in my practice and people I know in my life, my mom, my wife, you see these changes in their sleep quality. And I don't think it's often discussed. So I think that that's well said. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a part of the problem is women themselves and then society assume that women accept this life of sleeplessness, right? Like I'm a mom, I'm a working mom, of course I'm not going to get sleep. And you just assume that this is just what life has to be like, or this is just what life is. And that's really not the case. In any of those stages of life, it can be more difficult, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. And that doesn't mean that you should suffer in silence. I always
Hmm.
say if you were to walk out today and fall and break your leg, you will go to the doctor because you have a broken leg. And you would know that it is way more difficult to go throughout your day in life in the way that you need to with a broken leg. But for some reason, with sleep issues that affect almost every area of your life, people just, well, this is just what life is. I guess I just gotta, deal with it instead
Yeah.
of seeking the help that you need because you deserve to feel well rested and it impacts your physical health, your mental health, your performance, your creativity, your energy levels, the way that you interact with your family and loved ones, all these things. So go get help. Like you deserve
Yeah.
help no matter what stage of life you're in and no matter what is contributing to your sleep issues.
I think that's a phenomenal answer. And like you highlighted before, you can be a better mom. I mean, you can be a better
Absolutely.
contributor to your family and others and relationships and work, whatever, if you get the sleep. You touched on when to get help. Can you talk about that a little bit? First of all, I guess we should step back. What tips do you have to try to improve your sleep? And then at what point do you say, hey, I need to go try to get help?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, first of all, you want to make sure you're giving yourself enough sleep opportunities. So, there are some people who don't get sleep, but they're going to sleep at 1 a.m. and they have to wake up at 6. 5 hours is the only amount of sleep you're going to be able to get during that time. So, you want to give yourself enough sleep opportunity. The most important thing you can do for your sleep, and people don't realize this, is waking up at the same time every day. A lot of people, when we talk about sleep, it all goes to bedtime. A bedtime routine, which is important. What you do overnight is important, but the most important thing in terms of reinforcing your circadian rhythm is waking up at the same time every day. Especially when you're a mom and you have a baby who throws off your schedule, things can get so murky. It really disrupts your circadian rhythm. Your brain doesn't know when you want to be asleep, when you want to be awake. You really need to give yourself that structure again. Getting natural light exposure within an hour of waking is the second best thing that you can do for your sleep. Literally opening the blinds, going outside. Light is the strongest factor that regulates your circadian rhythm in a way that tells you to be awake and alert. And then we gotta start giving ourselves some space and energy to have enjoyment during the day that doesn't impact sleep. Even if it's 15, 20 minutes to do something that's just for you, create that hard boundary. Have conversations with your spouse, with your kids, so they understand that that's important, so you're not stealing from your sleep to do so. And then the next thing is viewing sleep as a reward, right? I look forward to my bedtime routine. Sometimes that is the only time I get to myself is my
Hmm.
bedtime routine. But guess what? I'm doing it every night. I
That's right.
indulge. It's a way that I relax. That's my mommy time. My husband
Yep.
knows don't bother me. My baby's already asleep.
Right.
And that is also something that prepares me for sleep. And then I view sleep as a reward because once I'm well rested, I get to wake up and I'm more efficient. I'm better at the things I'm doing. I'm a better mom. So all of those things can help.
Hmm.
If you're doing these things though, and you're like, it's not working, or if you're like, I just don't know where to start, get help. Like, it's actually never too early to seek some sort of help or some sort of
Okay.
assistance because one, is just going to cause you to suffer longer than you need to. And two, there could be other things. There can be underlying sleep disorders that you're not aware of contributing to this, such that no matter what you do, it's not going to help. And the sooner you start to take action, the sooner you'll see the results and the less effects you'll see of that sleep deprivation. So try things to improve your sleep. If it's not working, get help. And honestly, there really is no wrong time to seek help or additional assistance for your sleep.
Very good. Great answer. I think that just reframing your mindset around it, this is a reward. This is a time for you to relax and prioritize yourself. And as we keep mentioning, it's thread through the whole interview has been this is going to make you a better person, a better mom. So it's essential. Very good. So now I'm a busy parent or a busy mom out there. Maybe you're a new mom or you don't have time to do all the things, right? Dr. Holliday-Bell, what's the one biggest thing I could do?
Wake up at the same time every day. It's the
Okay.
best. If you do nothing else, wake up at the same. When I say same time, I mean like within an hour from day to day. And people get confused when I say this. They're like, the Saturday and Sunday, is that counted in days? And it is because your circadian rhythm doesn't take weekends off. Every day means every day.
Okay.
Getting natural light exposure is the second thing. And then the third thing is having some sort of bedtime routine. It can be 10, 15-minute routine, some way that you are signaling to your brain that the day is over and giving yourself the opportunity to transition into night is going to be important for your brain to actually calm down so you're not having these racing thoughts keeping you up. So if you do nothing else, start with those three things. And for most people, they will see improvements from that alone.
Excellent. Thank you. So, what about things like melatonin and ashwagandha now is big, and obviously exercise and the room temperature and stuff like that. Obviously, you're not putting those in your top three, even though they're important. But could you speak on those? And do you like melatonin? Is it good? What are your thoughts?
Melatonin has its place, but it is often misused. So, melatonin is a hormone of darkness. We naturally produce melatonin, and it just signals to our brain that it's nighttime, thus, sleep is likely coming. It's actually better to do things to improve your natural melatonin release than to take supplemental melatonin. Getting natural light exposure improves your natural melatonin release. Dimming the lights within a couple hours, and I'm sorry, you may hear my son.
Hey, there's that mom angle again.
The lights within a couple hours of bedtime can also release your natural melatonin. And I think that is something people get caught up on because they're so used to hearing the blue light and the electronics. But just existing in normal room lighting like I am in right now within an hour of bedtime can delay your natural melatonin release by up to 90 minutes.
That's interesting.
Supplemental melatonin can be helpful when your circadian rhythm is thrown off for other reasons. So, if you're traveling across time zones and now your bedtime is a completely different bedtime, when the clocks change, if you've been on vacation for a while and you've been going to bed later and now you have to all of a sudden shift your schedule, and then certain people with certain sleep disorders, it can be helpful. But for the average person, you don't need melatonin, and too many people misuse it and take way too much.
Yeah.
Other thing, the only sleep supplement, I guess you can call it, that I actually will like die on this hill that I absolutely love and I take every single night is magnesium glycinate. It
Okay.
is an excellent supplement. Now, it's not a sleeping pill. It's not going to knock you out, but magnesium is needed in over 300 neurological processes in the body, including the release of GABA, which is, the neurotransmitter that slows everything down. It
Right.
relaxes the mind, relaxes the muscles, and just puts you in a state that's more conducive to deep sleep. So
Okay.
I love it. Women during like pregnancy and menopause actually have higher magnesium needs, and our diets just don't tend to be as rich in them. So I
Mhm.
love that as a supplement. Other things, I would say there's just not enough research to recommend them consistently. And for some people, they can have side effects. So I tend to stay away from those things.
So you hit on a few different things. Magnesium, you talk about darkening the room. Could you just give us a quick peek? Like whenever I have a specialist on, I love everyday people hearing their regimen, what you
Oh,
do each
yeah,
night
yeah,
to make sure you get sleep so that it kind of humanizes it. It's like, okay, she
yes,
has to go through these steps to get good quality sleep. And
yeah.
real quick, just so I don't forget, what dose of the magnesium glycinate were you speaking on?
Yeah, so I just recommend the daily recommended dose, which is like I think 420 for men and 310 for women.
Okay.
Don't quote me, that may or may not be right, but
Okay.
you don't need these like super therapeutic doses. Literally just a recommended daily dose is all that you
Okay.
need.
Okay.
But yeah, I would love to talk you through my night. So, and I'm gonna
Okay.
start from my son going to sleep because I'm a mom and that impacts my sleep, right?
It's
So my
important.
son goes
Yes.
to sleep at 7 p.m.
Okay.
He is put to bed. My husband and I spend time from 7 to 9. We watch our show. We just like have, time together. Around 8, the lights in my house go dim. We have dimmers throughout our house, so we're turning down lights. We're using lamps. We're signaling to our bodies that we're nearing bedtime. At 9 p.m., I'm upstairs doing my bedtime routine. Again, lights are low. I really like to play it up. So I play like my favorite R&B playlist. I light my favorite sleep candle. I
Okay. Okay.
luxuriate in my skincare. Like it's a whole, like I really
Okay.
do it up because I enjoy my bedtime routine.
Yeah.
So I'm winding down. I read whatever book I'm reading at that time. I always do devotional at night and then off to bed.
So yeah. So, but even the fact, I mean, shout out to the R&B music, but even I think you're highlighting there needs to be a routine though,
There
right?
needs to be
Like
a routine.
those things put you in a mental state where it's more conducive for you to fall asleep. And then you
Exactly.
adhere to that because your body knows, hey, once you get the R&B music, the candles, all that stuff, hey, look, I'm about to go to sleep, right? Is that kind of what
Exactly.
you're highlighting
Exactly.
there?
And scent is the strongest sense tied to memory. People don't actually recognize that. So it's not just that it makes me feel good. It's exactly what you said. A lot sleep is mental, right? We
Hmm.
train ourselves to sleep and how to sleep. And
Yeah.
so my brain is learning to connect. Oh, those lights are going up. I smell that smell. Oh, the music is going on. That must mean
Yeah.
that it's time to go to sleep. In addition to the fact that those things actually just make me feel good. I'm reading, which distracts my mind from the to-dos of the day and what my son has going
Yeah.
on and what I have to do tomorrow. It gives my brain somewhere else to land. I do an devotional because I'm a spiritual person, and having gratitude and prayer is also something that relaxes me and closes my tabs at night. I
Yeah.
make sure that my room is cool. I actually didn't mention that because it's set on a timer, but we were sleeping at 67 degrees before I had my son. Now we're at 70 degrees, but
Okay.
I would do 67 if my son wasn't in this on the same floor as us.
Okay.
Um, and then I sleep with a blackout mask every single night. No light enters my eyes. That's another thing that's super important. You want to control all the light entering your space. And I sleep with a fan on, which acts as like a white noise for me. So I really
Mhm.
try to control those variables as much as possible.
Thank you so much. My last question to you is to that busy mom out there, that new mom, that parent that's on at their wit's end, what would you recommend? What would you tell them if you could say one thing to them?
First of all, understand that you deserve to sleep. One of my favorite quotes is, instead of asking myself, have I worked hard enough to deserve to rest? I've started asking myself, have I rested enough to do my best work? And I think that comes down to the work that you do in the workplace, the work that you do at home, the work that you do with your kids. Like it starts from a rested you, but you have to believe that you deserve that first. And once you do, then you can understand that it's making it a priority and taking it one step at a time. You don't have to overhaul your entire routine. It doesn't have to look like mine, but let's make one change this week that we're going to stick to, other change. And let's do it slowly over time, but understand that you are deserving of that rest first.
Great answer. Our big takeaway this week is going to be prioritizing yourself and realizing rest is a reward for you, and it's going to make you a better mom or better parent out there. Dr.
Absolutely.
Holliday-Bell, thank you. What a great interview. We'd love to have you back on the show. If this ministered to anybody out there, please like, subscribe, How can they follow you, Dr. Holliday-Bell, and get some of your posts and tips online?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at thesleep_MD. And then my website, thesolutionissleep.com, has all the ways you can get in contact with me, work with me, inquire about my services.
Good stuff. Hey, everybody out there, thank you for listening to the Doctor Next Door. Take care of yourself, take care of your people. All right.